bonitas, and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a couple of weeks that I since posted, but I have now given birth. If you follow me on Instagram, you would know that my baby girl is home and safe and healthy with us. She was born August 27th at 6:50 p.m. Now this is a little story time about how my labor and delivery went down and how she actually made it through to almost 40 weeks with a bicornuate uterus, and we delivered vaginally. So if you want to know the deets, stay tuned. So on Tuesday I had my 39-week appointment. They checked me, they swept my membranes, and I was about 2 centimeters dilated, which I was very happy, and her head was all very low. Now on that day, well, for a week already, I had been going to walk like little hills around my area to try and induce labor, and then bouncing on my ball and doing stuff like that. And then on early Wednesday morning at 3 a.m. I started having contractions that were every 10 minutes apart, and they lasted about a minute long. So I swore I thought I was going to go into labor already. Like, I was still at home in bed because I can tolerate the pain, but I didn't really get any sleep because I was timing them. So then as 7 a.m. approached, the contractions started like getting longer, like much more time in between. So that was kind of weird. I was like, well, why isn't it like continuing? So I called my doctor, which is Kaiser. I let them know what was going on. They're like, oh, you're probably in early labor, so just go ahead and hold off. Once they're more consistent, then you can come. But if you are having pain, they told me to go to any hospital near me because they were impacted. I did not expect that. When you're having labor contractions, you do not expect your hospital to tell you, well, we're busy, go like to any other hospital near you if you feel like you need to be seen. So I was like thrown off by it. And then once so I went all Wednesday with the like on and off pains. I did have contractions, but some were like 15 minutes apart, even some were 30 minutes apart, and like that. So that night, that Wednesday night, around maybe like 9 p.m. I went to a local hospital near me since I knew Kaiser would probably not take me in, and then they checked me there. I was only about 2.5 centimeters open, which wasn't much from Tuesday. And then they had me walk for an hour, and at this point I'm having painful contractions and they're more consistent. And so they pretty much, because they're not my provider or like my regular hospital, they were like, oh, well, I mean, it's up to you, you can stay or you can go, but I mean, there's not much we can do for you here. Your contractions are still not consistent. I would recommend you to just wait it off at home and then, you know, come back or go to your hospital if you want to. Which I was like, what the hell? I was in pain, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and push through. I'm just gonna go home and see how it goes. So we went back home around, I want to say 1 a.m. we got home, and like I was having horrible contractions. So between around 1 a.m. and about 2:30 a.m. like I was pushing through at home. Like my contractions were every 5 minutes. They were almost like between 1 to 2 minutes long, the contraction pain, which was horrible. Peter was like pressing on my back and putting a hot towel on my lower back to help ease the pain. And then my mom was like rubbing my legs and like giving me tea or whatever. And then the hospital that had sent me home said, oh, I could take Tylenol to kind of ease the contractions. So I did take 2 of those, but that did nothing. So around 2:30 a.m. and this is now Thursday early morning, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go to my hospital, which is Kaiser. I didn't even call. I showed up and I could barely walk. They offered me a wheelchair, but I didn't want to. I felt like there was too much pressure. I rather just walk up. Luckily they let Peter help me walk up with me, And then once I was in triage and then they decided that I was gonna stay, then they go ahead and let him up, and they did COVID tests, both of us, which was negative. So once they did triage, the doctor checked me. By that point, I was already somewhere between 3 to 4 centimeters open, and the contractions were horrible. Like they really hurt bad. And I was so frustrated that I was only open so little, because the pain was already unbearable, and I wanted to like hold off on any medication up until close to giving birth or having to push, because I didn't want to have to go through that pain later on. I rather hold off in the beginning. And then once they went ahead and admitted me, because the contractions were 5 minutes apart and they were pretty strong, so the doctor was like, okay, we're not gonna send you home, we're gonna keep you here. And funny thing, they didn't even seem like they were too busy. They're probably understaffed, but they weren't as busy. At least I was probably like one out of the 3 other pregnant ladies that I saw there, but I'm not sure. And then so now triage happened. I'm admitted into our room. Peter comes up with me. We get COVID tested. He brings up the stuff with him. We are pretty much there. And this is already our second night without sleep. Literally 2 nights in a row without sleeping. We're exhausted. I'm in pain. And they did inject me with, I believe it's fentanyl, in my IV, because I wanted to prolong my epidural as long as I could. Like I said, I wanted to have the effect for the pushing part, because I heard here that if you get it too soon that it was going to wear off, which I was explained that it's not that it's wearing off. You still have pain medication, but the epidural is specifically for pain, and what you feel when you're about to push out a baby is pressure, and epidural is not going to take away the pressure. That's something that you're going to feel naturally, which I was able to distinguish the pain from the pressure pain, I guess, after I was explained that, when I was actually under the effect of the epidural. So I was able to actually notice that, yeah, my lower back pain had subsided, but the pressure like in my vaginal area was like there 100%. So I was able to be like, okay, like they're right. So we went all Thursday, you know, early morning, and literally all day evening. And then Friday came along, and I didn't give birth until Friday evening, 6:50 p.m. Now, right before giving birth, I did have fentanyl 3 times, and I tried to scatter them between, just so I can rest and sleep, because like I said, we had 2 nights without sleeping and we were so tired. So, and then Peter would only sleep when I was sleeping, because he like felt bad I was in pain. So we literally didn't even watch TV there. We didn't like nothing. Like you know how you see some videos where people are even doing the baby mama dance in the hospital. Like we had no time for any of that, because 1, we were exhausted, 2, I was already in constant pain, and I consider myself someone that can take pain. Like I can take pain, but exhaustion and pain combined do not go together. So, and then I wasn't opening at all, so that was very frustrating. Like I was stuck at 4 centimeters for such a long time, literally up until Friday, when I actually got the epidural around probably noon. Now that I had gotten the epidural, by the way, the guy that put the epidural on me was amazing. I told Peter that if I decide to have another kid, I'm gonna look for that epidural guy, because he did such a great job, and he even came back later to like give me more medication for comfort right when it was time to push. He was amazing. And then the nurse that was there, Sam, shout out to her, because she was like the best nurse ever. She admitted me and was actually able to see my baby be born 10 minutes before clocking off her shift, so that was awesome. So yeah, and then when he put the epidural, like it didn't even hurt when they put it. Like they were like, okay, relax, we'll wait for a contraction to stop, and then we're going to go ahead and put it on you. And he explained everything step by step. He inserted, like, it didn't hurt at all. It just stings when they put like the numbing, but it did not hurt. And then they were very comforting, so that really helped. So once they put the epidural, I was able to relax. You still feel like tingling in your legs and how they're numbing. You still feel a little pressure. Now, once I got that epidural, things started moving fast. Like, I'm telling you, I went from being 4 centimeters for like almost a day or like a whole night to opening up to between a 6 and a 7 in the matter of hours. I'm not even sure how many hours. Like, I wasn't keeping track. Like, that's why we didn't even do an actual labor delivery vlog, because we had no time. Like, there was no point where I was like, okay, let me bring out the camera, because it was just not gonna happen. So I went from a 6-7-ish centimeters dilated to a 9 in like literally 15 minutes. In like 15 minutes, because once I got that epidural, my body was able to relax. And even from going from 4 to 6, once I had the epidural, my water broke and I didn't even feel it, obviously, because my legs were very numb. So when the nurse came to check me, she was like making a confused face, and I was like, what's going on? And she's like, I think your bag of water's broke. And I was like, well, really? And I was like, I felt some kind of pressure, but I wasn't sure. I thought it was just like, you know, regular contraction pressure, because by this time I was starting to feel like little contractions, or like the contraction pain coming through. And I was asking her, like, is there anything I can get? Like, the button wasn't doing anything for me anymore. So she was like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and call the epidural guy to see if like there's anything else he can give you. And then so at that point I was between a 6 and a 7. Now, while she went to go look for the epidural guy, it had been maybe like 15 minutes, and like I called her back and I was like, I have so much pressure and pain in my lower back. You know, is he coming, or can you come check? Like, there's so much more pressure. So she came to check, and she was like, you're 9 centimeters. And at this point, I'm like rolling from side to side in the bed, because I was in so much like pressure pain. Like, I can literally feel her down there. At one point I started crying because it just hurt so bad. And at this point I had not cried or like complained much at all, because I know like labor is labor. Like, it's gonna hurt, it's difficult, like, you know, we're made for this. And I kept telling myself, like, I'm made for this, like, I can do this. But at this point, like, I just couldn't anymore. Like, it was just so much. Like, I was literally like in the bed like this, and I was like, she's there. Like, I have to push, she's there. And you know how they're like, you have to wait for the doctor or whatever. This nurse was like an angel sent from above, because she was like, okay, I'm gonna help you while they come. And she was like she had someone else prepping like the table with the stuff, and then the baby setup had been done previously. And then the epidural guy came, and he gave me a little bit more medication. I believe he gave me a little bit more of the epidural medication and some fentanyl to ease the pressure. But he did reiterate, like, it's for pain, it's not for pressure. But it did give me like at least within a 10-minute comfort. And then at this point I'm a 9, so within those 10 minutes I became a 10. And I like, the pain instantly came like right at 10, because I was like, Peter, call the nurse. So he called the nurse, and like she wasn't coming. So then as I told him, like, check in the hallway, like check for someone in the hallway, like I have to push. And as he was gonna go to call someone, like, we hear her footsteps, and I was like, I have to push, like I have to push. And at this point, like, I'm crying, and she was like, okay, come on. And then at this point, like, we hadn't even done practice pushing. I didn't even know how to push. I was so confused. I was in pain. I just wanted to get her out. So once like she put me in the position, like she brought up the leg things or whatever, like, I'm such a person that had never been this exposed to like strangers ever. Like I'm still even shy around my man at sometimes, you know. So having all these people like see me wide leg open, which luckily we're all female, were like, I was like, oh my god, like this is insane. Like, but you like lose sight of all of that, because all you want is like your baby to be there and that pain to stop. So I was like in so much pain, and I was like, I have to push, and she was like, okay, then push. And I was like, well, how do I push? And she was like, hold your legs and chin to chest and just push. And like that first push, I kind of gave like a, not a scream, but like a grunt. And she was like, no, control that and just like kind of push. And then by this time it was just her and I, and the other nurse that was like fixing the table, like with the materials and stuff that they were gonna use. So the doctor wasn't there, the midwife wasn't there, like no one else was there. It was just the nurse, the two nurses, and Peter and I. So I was like pushing, and I didn't even know how to, but she was like, oh my god, like she's almost there. She was like, she thought that I was gonna give birth like or push for hours, and I was like, no, like she's right there. So I started pushing. I think like 2 minutes later the doctor came in with like 2 other RNs or whatever, I don't know, but I know the doctor came in, and Peter kept telling me, when after I gave birth, obviously, he kept telling me that the doctor kept looking at my nurse like, what are you doing? Why aren't you waiting until we're here and ready? But literally when they got there, it was 2 minutes. I had already been pushing for about 2 to 3 minutes, and I was just going ham. Like I was pushing so hard, like, you know how when you hold your breath for so long, you feel like you're dizzy and you're going to faint. Well, I was pushing so hard and like pulling on my legs like all the way up here so hard that I felt like I was gonna faint. But what kept me going was that the nurse kept telling me, okay, breathe, okay, hold it, okay, breathe, okay, hold it. And then Peter was like, just keep going, like he was kind of encouraging me. And he, at one point, he was like, her head is right there, it's almost out, like keep going. So because I was gonna give up on one push, because I was just like, I needed to breathe. And he was like, no, keep going, like her head is right there. And I was like, oh my god, like in my head I'm like, I can't let go, I'm gonna try like to keep pushing. So I kept pushing. A couple more minutes passed by, and well, I mean, the doctor is already there, like handling the situation, and I can feel them like kind of assisting me with the like kind of like putting their hand in obviously where the baby's coming out from, to kind of guide the baby's head. So I could feel that, and I'm like pushing so hard, and then they're like, okay, the baby's head is out, and then they're like, do you want to touch her head or her hair? And I was like, no, I just want like to keep pushing. And then at one point they're like, okay, breathe. But I was ready to push, and I was like, can I push? And she's like, yeah, you push whenever you feel like you gotta push. And I was like, okay. So then I pushed again, and then I just felt like something pop out, but it didn't register. I was still stuck in pushing. And then my nurse was like, open your eyes, she's here. And then all I see is like my baby on my chest, and I'm just like, oh my god, I can't, like I couldn't believe that she was here. And I'm gonna try and insert some pictures if they're not too graphic. I think Peter took some pictures of when they put the baby on my chest, or when he cut the umbilical cord. But in all, I pushed out our baby girl in 7 minutes. I cannot even believe how fast I pushed her out in. And then the next day the doctor was like, no, you pushed her out in 6 minutes. I'm like, whatever it was, 6 or 7 minutes. I was like, how do people do this for hours? Like, I was not about to sit there. I kept telling myself, like, I'm not gonna sit here and push for hours, because like the pressure is insane. It's like if you've ever been constipated and you feel like you gotta go number 2 but it's not coming out, and you feel so much pressure down there, like it feels like that times 100, because it's like a whole ass human coming out of you. So I was like, I'm not gonna sit here and push for hours. So I pushed, and she came out, and everyone was like so stunned how fast she came out, because I'm a first-time mom. And then, so that was out. The baby came out. She was actually fairly clean. She wasn't bloody or cheesy or anything. Like, she was beautiful. They put her on me. We did skin to skin for like 2 hours. The only worst part that could have happened was the tear. And let me tell you, the nurses kept telling me, oh, poor baby, you have a huge tear, because I have a 2nd-degree tear from like my urethra, I believe, to my perineum, and it was deep. So literally my doctor took like 30 minutes to stitch me up, longer than what it took me to push the baby out. My baby, she's right here. I'll show you guys in just a second. She's like making little noises. But anyway, that the sewing part, because my epidural or the pain medication was like wearing off, like I could feel some stuff, and I would tell her, and then she would just inject me with more numbing medication, which was amazing. Like, she took her time, and I appreciate that, because it's only been 4 or 5 days since I gave birth, and like I've been like, it hasn't hurt, or like it's been fine. So I'm appreciative of that. But those 30 minutes were like the longest ever after giving birth. Even though I had my baby right here and I was focusing on her, like, you're still with your legs like this and someone in there like stitching you up, so it's still uncomfortable. But I was so in love with the baby. We had the skin to skin for like 2 hours until we moved to the postpartum room. And she, like I said, she was born August 27th at 6:50 p.m. She weighed 7 pounds and 11 ounces, and she was 20 inches long. So she was literally perfect. She didn't get a cone head because of the delivery was so fast. Like, she didn't even get a chance to get a cone head or anything. Like, one of the nurses kept saying, oh, she has a perfect little round head. I'm gonna go get her the little hat with the bow, and she's gonna look so beautiful. And she sure did, and still does. Everyone there was so nice. Like, I'm so grateful I went back to my provider. So it was a good experience in the way that they were treating us and how everything went about. Just, you know, obviously, like, labor and delivering the baby is tough, and it's really tough. And I feel like it just hit me much more because I had not slept in 2 days. So I had only taken naps throughout the day, but naps between contractions is not really any rest. So I took all the medication I could because your girl was not having it. I needed to rest while the medication had an effect, because I knew the delivery part was going to be tough. So that definitely helped. Now, once all of that was done, the baby is fine. I'm stitched up. I'm back to, well, once they stitched me up, they started like pressing on my stomach, and I like, that hurt. Like, that really hurt. And they pressed down on it like every 15 minutes, maybe like 3 to 4 times, to, I guess, clean me out, which I feel like they did a really good job as well, because I didn't feel like swollen or anything. I only started swelling once I got home the next day, or we got home Saturday night when we got discharged, and I didn't start swelling up until Sunday. So yeah, 2 days after giving birth, that's when I started swelling up from my legs and my feet. My hands not so much, just a little bit, but yeah, my feet are like, even today, like, they're still kind of swollen, not as much, but I'm also like up and down and not like elevating them as much. But other than that, like, I don't know, like, my labor and delivery experience was like, it's crazy. Like, I'm second guessing a second child, but you know, God will give us the strength, and I know I'm like made for this. And I'm so appreciative that even though with the bicornuate uterus and the doctors kept saying preterm labor and a C-section, my baby made it to 39 weeks and 3 days. She came out vaginally. She's perfectly fine and she's healthy. So I'm super grateful to God for all of that. And thank you guys for joining me, because I know a lot of you guys follow me due to the bicornuate uterus and just mommy to bees in general. So I appreciate you guys sticking through with me, and I hope this information from labor and delivery is very helpful to both of or to anyone watching this video in general. But other than that, on So they moved us to the postpartum room, which is super cute. They play like a little happy song when a new baby is born. So as we were being rolled in through the hallways, a little song was playing, which is Here Comes the Sun from the Beatles. It was so sweet. It makes you feel like all nice and gushy, and then our baby's in my arms. And then we were there. They checked her. They checked me. They, you know, just kept an eye on us. The nurses were also very helpful on the postpartum side as well. And then we were discharged Saturday night. And then when we got home, our family surprised us with such a beautiful welcome for us and the baby, which I'll go ahead and insert a clip after this. So you guys... Welcome home, sister. Aww.
Llegamos su nieta, gracias a Dios, bendito Dios. She's here. Bendito Dios. Dame la cinco acá para amarrarle el ojito. Lo bueno es que nos dejaron salir pronto. Bueno, yeah. Ay, muchas felicidades. Los quiero mucho. Muchas felicidades. Thank you. Hey sister.
Hey. You can see I got like all emotional, and then it was so exciting because they got to meet the baby like the same day we were discharged. And on Sunday is when my swelling happened. Hope baby girl is waking up. She's gonna meet you guys in just a second. But I'm just so happy that I'm done with that and I have my baby here, and I just can't wait to completely heal and then just continue on with this new breastfeeding journey, which I'll keep you guys updated on because it's something. It's work, let me tell you that much. So be prepared for that, because I know a lot of people tell you like, oh, breastfeeding is work. It's work. Like it really is work, because you have to like kind of come up with a schedule, but you're so like dozy and like kind of out of it still because the camera cut me off. But that's pretty much the gist of my labor and delivery. And now this is the part that you have all been waiting for, meeting our baby. So we'll be right back. Give me just a second. So we are happy to introduce you to our baby girl, Angelique. She is the light of our lives. And she is gonna be hungry in just a second. So if you guys hear her cry, you guys know why. How cute is she? She is like such a good, calm baby. She was born, she cried like, you know, because she was born. But after that, like they gave her a shot and like some other medicine or whatever. She cried for like a second and then like soothed herself. She's not like crazy at all, like one of those crying babies. So far she's been really good. Our first night home, I guess she was like adjusting to a new environment, since she had obviously only been at the hospital. So she woke up frequently, and she still wakes up like every hour and a half, or now like every 2-3 hours.
Every 2 to 3 hours,
yeah,
but
to feed, but which is normal. But we're the ones trying to get used to the 2 to 3 hour alarm clock. But kind of show her up a little bit up close. Hopefully she can lift her up higher. Maybe you guys can see, but we'll insert a picture so you guys can see her closer. And as you can see, she was born with a full head of hair thanks to her dad. But how do you feel now that you're a dad?
well, I mean, it still feels like unreal.
Yeah.
I still can't believe like this is our baby.
We literally just like sit there and stare at her and we're like, I can't believe this is ours. Like,
yeah, but I'm enjoying every second of it.
Yeah, I absolutely love her. Like, I literally just look at her and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe like I birthed you. Like, it's so crazy. But I'm so in love with her. She's a piece of cake. I mean, she's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
My little baby. But that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If I missed something, or like you guys have questions of something in specific about what I mentioned about my labor, leave them down below or send me a DM on Instagram at @saisbamsale. I know a lot of you guys reach out to me via there, so I'll gladly respond. But yeah, that is pretty much it. Now I'm gonna go ahead and wake her up because it is time to eat, and now I'm gonna go put my feet up because these swollen feet need to rest too. But thank you guys for joining my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll have more content for you guys. Give us ideas down below, right?
Yeah.
Have a
Thank
good
you
night.
guys for watching. Bye.
Bye.